So here we are. You might all want to mute yourself now. Very good. And we are all yours, Reverend James.
All right, thank you. Good morning. It's good to be with you again. Yes, love to see your faces, feel your energy. Let's begin this time with a time of prayerful meditation. I invite you to find a comfortable position. Begin to relax and let go. As you feel your breathing connects you to all life. Direct the message into your body, heart, and soul. Relax, let go, let God. Relax, let go, let God. In this space, we are open and receptive to God. We understand God to be spirit or mind, infinite, all-encompassing, everywhere present, all-knowing, all power. So this power, this knowing, this presence is in us, manifesting as us and manifesting through us. Each one is a center of being and knowing, living and loving. One with, inseparable from, the infinite being, knowing, loving, living presence. We look to this knowing for guidance. We know this knowing is within us. The wisdom of God is within me, within you, within us. And so we need only be open and receptive to receive the guidance of this wisdom. I am open and receptive to divine wisdom. Whatever questions I have, whatever knowings I need, are right there within me. My mind is one with the infinite mind. I am open and receptive to the guidance of divine wisdom. We hold in our consciousness that this wisdom is available to all. To anyone who is open and receptive to divine wisdom, they receive the guidance they need. So we hold this for our loved ones and for the people of the world, that divine wisdom guides you. The life that is within us is the energy of divine mind. That mind is all harmonious. And so this energy, this vitality, this strength, this harmony, the infinite mind is within us, is in our bodies, expressing in and through our bodies. This is the source of health, source of strength. So we enter into that attitude. I am open and receptive to divine life and harmony. I am open and receptive to divine life and harmony. we remain in this openness, we can feel the life and harmony flowing through us, every part of the body. Feel that energy and strength. We experience it as radiating light. We see our bodies as radiant with the energy, light, life, strength that flows from the infinite mind. I am open and receptive to divine life and harmony. We hold for our loved ones and all the people of the world that divine life and harmony are within you, establishing you in health. Know that for each one, it is their privilege to be open and to receive. The infinite mind is the source of all substance, of all supply, of all that we call prosperity. That source and that support is without limit. So we open ourselves to receive the flow of divine substance that manifests in our world as support and supply of all that we need. I am open and receptive to the infinite substance of God. I'm open and receptive to the infinite substance of God. We let go of any thoughts of lack or fear or limitation. I'm open and receptive to the infinite substance of God. We trust that flow to provide for every need, provide abundantly and continually. We see this infinite flow of substance into experience as abundant supply, as prosperity, for all the people of the earth. Each one has the privilege of receiving that support and that substance through faith. We accept the reality, the life, the light, and the substance of infinite being. We accept that reality. We are having faith. We are trusting. We are believing. We are believing that whatever we ask, believing, it is done for us. So we accept the gifts of guidance, health, and prosperity flowing in us, through us, expressing as us. Take a few moments in the silence to simply be and receive and know the divine presence is the reality of our experience and of what we are. Be still and know the I am, God. So we move forward in our lives without fear. We walk in faith and we await the abundant blessings that flow into our experience, and we seek to be instruments of those blessings and of many blessings to others. We give thanks for that privilege and for the knowing of the Christ, the divinity within us. And so it is. Amen. Bring our attention back, share with each other, to consider some mystical or metaphysical ideas how they might apply in our lives. The appearance of reality is not the absolute reality as it is in itself. Appearances are the experiences within our minds. And we know that we judge not by appearances, but judge right judgment. So we can say that our minds must be more like the absolute reality than the fleeting appearances that occur within our minds, the absolute reality that we call God. So we can think of the absolute as mind, and the absolute mind must encompass and pervade all possible experiences. Since there is an infinity of possible experiences, we are justified in saying that absolute reality is infinite mind. We also call it divine mind or God mind. The absolute reality of divine mind necessarily must encompass and pervade every level or dimension of consciousness. A divine mind has no complete description, being infinite, but it can be compared to our ocean. The individual conscious experience that we have is like a region of the ocean's surface. Sometimes at this level of the conscious mind, we experience calm, as regions of the ocean have calm. And sometimes we experience the ups and downs in our lives, like the waves on the surface of the ocean. Sometimes our individual conscious mind may even experience great storms in our lives. Yet beneath the surface, the ocean is calmer. It's calmer than the surface. It has plant life and it has creatures swimming around in it. Subconscious mind is like that. It is calmer than the conscious mind, and it has ideas or beliefs swimming around in it. Just as sea creatures sometimes rise up to the surface of the ocean, even so, subconscious mind, subconscious ideas and beliefs can rise up into the conscious mind, up to the surface. Now, even though individual conscious and subconscious mind is like a region of the ocean of mind, the region is actually inseparable from the whole. There is, we may say, a collective consciousness, both conscious and subconscious, in this mind ocean, in this ocean of mind. The floor of the ocean is more stable, more solid, and it is necessary for the ocean's existence. This ocean rests upon this base, this deeper region. So this is also a deeper region of God mind. It consists of unchanging and necessarily true ideas upon which the rest of the dimensions, the subconscious and the conscious, rest. And so this is sometimes called the Platonic realm of forms, the divine ideas upon which all of consciousness, conscious and subconscious, rests. We sometimes think of this as the true mind of God. And yet, if we were to dig even deeper into the ocean floor, we would eventually reach the magnetic core of energy at the Earth's center. Now, this core we might think of as the original source of the Earth and the Earth and the ocean being a kind of cooling of or manifestation of this core of light and energy, which is at the center of the Earth. That is very much like the sun and the stars and the other centers of energy that we see in the heavens. At the core of our being, in the depths of our consciousness, then we are linked to and emanate from this energy and light of the one absolute. So each dimension is a part or a level of the one infinite mind. And at the core, it is one. All radiates from it this energy and this light. Now, each level or dimension of God, mind has, at each level or dimension of God, mind has characteristics and functions. Today, I'm going to focus on the surface, the characteristics, functions, and powers that operate within the individual conscious dimension of mind. And then we'll get to the other dimensions in the coming weeks. So conscious mind, first of all, consists of appearances or perceptions of ideas, interpretations of the divine ideas. We perceive the ideas of our bodies and the world around our bodies. These perceptions at the conscious level also include what we call our desires, our emotions, our thoughts and thinking. We experience the desires, emotions, and thoughts as being inside the body idea. Yet these seemingly inside the body perceptions, desires, thoughts, and feelings are linked to the seemingly external perceptions. For example, we first perceived language as being external in the sense that we seem to learn it from sources outside of the body. And yet our mind was never disconnected from that learning. It was all within our consciousness. The images in our imaginings, when we imagine things, those images are connected to things that we perceive as external. They're like them. Our desires and emotions are obviously linked to the things that we perceive as external to the body, but nevertheless, they are within the field of the conscious mind. What we perceive as external, then, is still an experience of ideas within the field or region of the conscious mind. At the surface, all these things are appearances of the absolute, but not the entirety of the absolute. It is what the mystics sometimes call the face of God. Our perceptions, whether seemingly internal or external, are determined by another function in the conscious mind. That function is our attention. What we put our attention on is what we experience. This is obvious. This power of attention is often or usually called the will or volition. This power of will or attention determines what we consciously experience. If we put our attention on our feelings or thoughts, that is what we experience. If we put our attention on particular perceptions of the world in that field, those particulars are what we experience. If we put our attention on moving the body, we experience our bodies moving in the field of appearances. In this way, attention is the power we have to control our conscious experience. If you put your attention on moving, that's the direction you go. That determines what you experience. Now, this truth of attention, where we put our attention, that's what we experience. This is the basis of Jesus's statement, the law of experience. Now, it's not usually known as the law of experience, but that's what I'm going to call it right now. And it's a very simple thing. Ask and you will receive, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open. It will be open to you. So asking, seeking, and knocking are all acts of will. That is all acts of directing our attention. And the results, Jesus says, of asking, seeking, and knocking are perceptions of receiving, finding, and having doors open in our lives. It's a very simple but powerful truth. Wherever we direct our attention, infinite mind responds with experiences. Conscious volitions and divine mind co-create our experiences. So we have, in effect, the power to experience whatever we will to experience, whatever we put our attention on. whatever we put our attention on is what we are experiencing in that moment. Now, our will, our attention does not act separately from other uh, functions and properties of the conscious mind. Okay? It does not act separately from our perceptions, our desires, our thoughts, and our feelings. So our will, our attention, is motivated by a kind of mixture of desires and thoughts and feelings as they might be at any given moment. If I pay most attention to my desires, those uh, those desires primarily motivate my action. So this following of my desires leads me to experiencing pleasure or pain, sometimes both, and also may affect the experience of other individuals. If my desires involve helping others, my actions then can help others. Likewise, if my desires involve harming others, my action may result in harm to others. If I pay most attention to my emotions tend then to direct my attention, my acts of will. My emotions may my emotions may be primarily loving, and so my actions will generally be beneficial to others, and my experience will be filled with loving relationships. But my emotions may also be primarily self-centered, and I then may express and experience envy, anger, jealousy, those types of emotions. I may become manipulative or even violent. Because of the different kinds of emotions I can have, my expression and experience can be either beneficial or harmful to myself and to others. This again is all at the conscious level. Now, if I pay most attention to my thoughts, to my reasonings and imaginings, my thought world will primarily motivate my will. My actions and experiences will be linked to domains of business or knowledge or religion or the arts. So, in this way, those who focus on are motivated primarily by the thought world. They may focus on business, and so then engage in their lives mainly with economics. Those who pay most attention to the thought world of knowledge contribute to the collective knowledge of humanity. Those who pay most attention to the thought world of religion participate in the aims of religion or the religion that they adhere to. And those who pay most attention to the arts contribute to the human experience of beauty and joy. And again, the contribution can be helpful or harmful depending on the quality of the individual thought. Generally, though, the development of human thought worlds evolve in a progressive way. Over the centuries, we gain more and more knowledge and understanding. Those who focus their attention in general on the highest ideas of good can experience the nature of the absolute in some degree at the conscious level. That experience may consist of flashes of illumination or inspiration. It may be an experience of oneness and love or a general sense of well being because the focus is on the good. The mystics who concentrate on their highest idea of good may experience a kind of merging with pure being, consciousness, and bliss, as the Hindus describe it, divine union or nirvana. The mystic experiences are the fullest experiences of the absolute that we know. And so this can take place also at the level of the conscious mind. Your individual conscious mind interacts with the deeper dimensions of the absolute infinite mind. For example, subconscious ideas can cause unconscious behavior. Subconscious ideas can emerge and become conscious, like the fish that jump out of the ocean. You can consciously impress ideas on your subconscious to achieve certain manifestations. We'll get into these points next week, talking about the subconscious. I'm going to remain, though, at this conscious level, this sort of the surface of the ocean of mind. The conscious level of mind, life can seem like a series of problems to be solved or questions to be answered. Have you ever experienced that? For example, in the morning, the question emerges, shall I get up now or shall I hit the snooze button? Okay. Then as we go forward, what shall I do now? What shall I do now? What shall I do now? What shall I eat? We might have, at a certain point in our lives, we might have the question, how shall I make a living? We might ask, should I get married? Okay. If something breaks, how can I fix this broken object? Or should I even bother to fix it? And so forth. These questions, these problems continually sort of arise at the conscious level in our experience, right? In our conscious interaction with the field of ideas that we call the world. Now, these problems could not arise unless there were answers already within us at a deeper level. The problems or questions actually direct our attention to the answers, to potentialities, right? For example, the simple question that you have probably every day, what shall I eat? Okay. Well, the question would not arise unless you knew at some level that there are already things you could eat, right? And likewise, in the fields of science and philosophy, for example, scientists and philosophers assume there are answers to the questions they ask. The question arriving, the problem arising indicates that there's an answer, there's a potentiality to be experienced, to something to be known. Now, at the conscious level, we can, of course, also think of problems and questions that don't really make any sense and so have no true answer. So, for example, suppose I ask, why is the earth flat? Well, that's a nonsensical problem, isn't it? The earth is not flat, so it doesn't make any sense to ask why it's flat. So we can have those kinds of questions. Sometimes psychologically, someone might wonder or even say, why don't people like me? Maybe you've known someone who's had that, sort of made that kind of statement. Why don't people like me? Well, this is another example of a nonsensical problem. The question assumes as fact something that the person does not actually know to be true. There might be people who don't like that person, but also that person hasn't met all people. So it doesn't make sense to ask why don't people like me, right? A person could also be mistaken about how people feel about him or her in the first place. So it's a kind of nonsensical answer, a question that might sometimes arise in our consciousness. Now, it would make more sense to ask the question along this line: are there people who like me? It makes more sense than saying, why don't people like me? And then I could then observe, and think about the people I interact with and infer from their behavior which people like me, which ones express affection, caring, generosity towards me, which ones pay attention to me. And it would also make more sense to ask, how can I be more liked? And I think a lot of people have that question. So the answer to that question, I think, is actually fairly obvious. Most people with a little thought would understand it. How can I be more liked? Well, people in general like others who express concern towards them, who express kindness or caring or generosity. So one can pay attention to the feelings and needs of others and respond in helpful ways. Doing this attracts love. Doing this attracts liking. Paying attention to anything is a choice, an act of will, and it is your power to control your life. You pay attention to your desires, feelings, needs, and so forth. If you only pay attention to your own desires, feelings, needs, and so forth, it will not particularly endear you to most people. Now, this is not to say that you should ignore your own feelings. Of course, you should pay attention to your feelings, to your needs. Your wants and needs are no less important than anyone else's. But if that is all you care about, why should anyone care about or like you? But I suppose that even totally selfish people can be liked, for example, by those who have attained a level of universal unconditional love. Sometimes the liking isn't dependent upon the person, but upon the person who wants to be liked, but upon the person whose love encompasses others. But I want to say, in general, paying attention only to your own needs is not a good strategy for making friends. There are basically four strategies by which we solve most problems at the conscious level: reason, research, imagination, and inspiration. These are strategies. Each strategy is activated by our will, by how we direct our attention. Some problems are purely rational, right? The kinds of questions that mathematicians ask, or that philosophers ask. These can be, you know, purely solved by reason, such as how to solve an equation. Right? Some problems are what we call empirical. Okay? So an empirical question would be, what happened in the Hundred Years' War? What are quarks? This is where research comes in. The answers are already out there. We can research and find the facts, the empirical facts. We can answer those questions. So that's another strategy that we can use. We can consciously do research. We can put our attention on what, in effect, is already known. And we can do things like we can research different ways to do things because we want to do something, right? In fact, you can find how to do almost anything on YouTube. Just type in how to, right? And it'll come up with a video. Okay. Some problems are life problems. We can contemplate possibilities, experiences, and possible choices in our imagination. That's where the imagination comes in. We can try to understand or imagine the consequences of different kinds of choices so that we can determine which consequences we most want. We can also use imagination to visualize things, to create solutions. And at the conscious level, we might also receive inspirations from deeper levels of consciousness. So the conscious level interacts with all of the levels in various ways. Basic keys to solving life problems are putting our attention on possible solutions and then putting our attention on implementing the solutions. Such as a question such as, how shall I make a living? You put your attention on possibilities, imagining yourself doing different things. And then you're putting your attention on doing them, making a choice, and then following up on it, putting your attention on following up on it. Or suppose we have the question, how can I become healthier? Well, then you would put your attention on ideas of health. It's a very simple strategy, right? You put your attention on diet, exercise, and various therapies. Learn about them, begin to use them. And we know, in truth, we can set our imagination on visualizing ourselves as healthy, and that can be helpful. We can use affirmations and denials regarding establishing health. We can focus on the idea that God is our health. And so when you do these things persistently and consistently, you experience improved health. The answer is already connected to the question. So this week, I'm going to invite you to engage in an experiment. I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. I won't expect you to come back with results from that next week, but I'm going to invite you to do this. So it's a very simple experiment. Keep your attention on what you want to experience. Very simple. It's not necessarily that easy, but it's simple. Keep your attention on what you want to experience. So if you find your attention wandering to what you do not want to experience, gently redirect it. redirect your attention back to what it is that you do want to experience. So keeping that question behind what do I want to experience, and then directing your attention to that and away from what you do not want to experience. Just trying it for a week. I believe that if you do this, you will find that the flow of your experience will move in the direction of your conscious attention. Now, this may seem very obvious, but it's really easy to get distracted by thinking about things you don't want, focusing your attention on what you perceive as the problem, right? So you don't want to be focused on the problem. You want to be focused on the answer connected to the problem. Remember that any seeming problem that comes up indicates that the solution is already awaiting your discovery. As soon as you begin to imagine the problem is solved, you will begin to experience the feeling that you already have that which you seek. And that feeling should not be underestimated, because it has a kind of dynamic magnetism that attracts into our lives, into our experience, what it is that we are seeking. Right? So again, sort of paying attention to what is it that you're asking, seeking, what are the doors that you are knocking on with your consciousness? Because as you engage in this experience, you will begin to find that flow flowing into your life, flowing from within you, is that which you are asking for, that which you are seeking, that those doors of the universe will open up so that you may enter into that experience that you have been seeking. All right. So there's your homework. I look forward to hearing from you on that when we come back next week. Have a lovely week.